Irashaimase! Konbanwa. This is Andre Salazar. Welcome to the Art of Comics. This is a channel where we sit down, we have these nice little chats about making comics, reviewing comics, the life of a comic book creator, such as myself. And this episode is about comic conventions, finding your passion, making your dreams come true, all that kind of stuff. So how do you do your passion? How do you live your joy, your creative world? And I'm going to focus specifically on comic books, making comic books, being a comic book creator, and conventions. And are conventions important? That kind of thing. This is a question that I get all the time from people, and I just came back from Los Angeles Comic Con yesterday, and so I've been thinking about it. I've been thinking about what this all means. And the first thing is to say, the little disclaimer, this is my ideas. This is my thoughts. It's genuine. It's from my perspective, from my experiences. Everybody's different. There are people who have jumped in the business and within a year or two or three are now full-time professional doing what they want to do. There are those who never make it, right? And so I'll tell you from my perspective, and then you can kind of get what you can out of it. So let's start by first saying, what is your passion? Find it. Finding your passion, finding the creative thing that you love, whether it's comics, photography, filmmaking, illustration, writing, script writing, whatever it is, whatever that dance, whatever that passion is, find it and then get good at it. Learning the craft, knowing the business, knowing the craft, that's the first foundational thing. And the thing you realize when you go to these public events, like a comic book convention, is you say to you look at what's out there and what's being sold to consumers, and there is a huge breadth of skill level there. You have the top of the top. You have your Bill Sienkiewicz's, you have the Millers, you have those guys who are the best. And then you have just straight up hacks. And you will say to yourself, I'm better than this. I'm better than these hacks. You will go down Artist Alley and you will see it feels like a freaking swap meet. And there are few actual artists there, but there's a lot of crafters there. It's a freaking swap meet, flea market craft fair with tchotchkes and knitted Yoda hats and enamel pins and all these things that do have some creativity that's needed. There's some craftsmanship involved, but it's not comics. It's not the kind of art that you think. And there are those mashup artists who just do R2-D2 as a pimp or a stormtrooper as My Little Pony, and they don't own these properties. They just mash them up and it sells. And you'll see people there selling stuff. And you'll think, wow, I could go there. I can do this. This is easy. I can sell this stuff. I'm better than that. And you wouldn't be wrong. So talent, skill is important. But for the short game, it isn't necessary to make a quick buck to have talent. What is necessary to make a quick buck is hustle. For instance, here, Cannibal on Mars, I just did this with a couple guys. This is very well done. These 3 graphic novels that I did, Pariah, Missouri, I'll take the Pepsi challenge on this professional freaking quality book than 60%, 70% of the stuff there. Okay? It's got the quality. But do I have the right connections? Is it the right genre? Is it marketable? Is it sellable? All those things are now part of the equation that you have to put in. So, for instance, for the Prime Missouri series, it is a period Western. Well, guess what? DC can't even sell copies of Jonah Hex. They're not going to try to sell an indie guy who no one knows anything about a Western. Okay? Same for Marvel. Same for Image. I've spoken to Eric. I've spoken to all those people. They won't touch a Western from a no name. It's not going to happen. Because they don't sell. They don't get the numbers. So it's not commercially viable. So then there begs the question. When you're crafting your craft, assuming you have the level that you feel is competitive, and I don't even think I just said I did, but I don't even think I do all the way, because I had Jose Pescador help me with that. If I just draw all myself, it's 100% myself, I don't feel that confident. I don't feel that my rendering is as good as it needs to be really competitive, for people to be like, whoa, this is good. I was talking to Matt Hawkins 2 days ago at the con, and he said, I see books all the time that are amazing, never sell, dropped. All the time. He's been in the game for 30 years. They come in, they leave. If you don't have the audience, that's number 2. So, find your passion, get your skill level up, build your audience. This is where comic conventions come in, potentially. Or Kickstarters, or Twitter, or some other way to get your story or art out there. I've already done videos on Kickstarters. We won't go into that here today, but crowdfunding is a definite way to build that audience. I've done them. I have experience with it. I have mixed feelings about that. But one of the things you have to do, part of the hustle, is building your brand. I don't really like to say that brand. It's just baloney. Build your audience. And it shouldn't be just one genre. If you really want to get an audience for your work, to get that, level of fans. And, when I was talking to Matt, I'm going to quote him a couple times here because I took notes on the stuff that I've spoken to him and David Mack, a couple others. 10,000 followers. 10,000 followers on Twitter gives you enough power to then get something going. Potentially with another publisher or yourself, 10,000. I have around 2,500. You need 10. So how do you get the 10? Well, you know what? A lot of people don't like Westerns. So what do? Well, do crime noir, do sci-fi, do a fantasy, do slice of life, do something different, right? Shangri-La, go look at my Patreon. I'm working on that book. Totally different genre. So you can't just stick with one genre because you're only going to get that one slice of people. You have to kind of put books in all these different worlds, the things that people will want and that what they're interested in. Diversify your portfolio of creative endeavors. That's one tactic. Now, I'm not saying it's the only tactic. Another tactic is you just say, I am the Western guy, and that's what I do, and I'm the best at it. You still need to build your brand. You still need to build your audience. How are you going to do that? Conventions is one way to do it. The negatives of a convention is that you do have to deal with, well, first off, if you're not good with people in crowds, that's an issue. You do have to deal with I'm going to call them the hacks again. There are those personalities who are indie like yourself, but will kind of put on airs like they know like they're the boss. It's that big fish, little pond syndrome where, they're kind of the king of Artist Alley because they've been doing it for 7 years or 10 years or whatever. And they know everybody and they put out a book every year or whatever. And so they still haven't been published by anybody. It's all self-publishing, but they say they do that because they want the freedom to do what they wanted. So there's those kind of personalities. There's just those that just don't know what they're doing. There are those who are very aggressive in their selling. And if you're next to them, that can get annoying. So there's those kind of like things you have to deal with. and it's just exhausting. The travel, the expense of doing a convention. You have to set up, you have to get merchandise, you have to buy your books, right? I mean, you have to publish books, you have to get books from a printer. You have to have some signage. You have to have a tablecloth. I mean, you have to set up cards or whatever. You have to have some capital investment in your booth or table. It's exhausting physically to schlep it all over there, to travel. There's expenses to travel, hotel, food, gas, car, what have you. The table itself, convention costs are going higher and higher. The convention that I went to in Los Angeles was free because of Collector's Paradise. Wonderful comic shop. I highly recommend you go to it. But that table was over $400. I've heard it was $450, $475. That's a good amount of money for those 2.5 days. If you do good, that could be half of your money or more just to be there. So that means all the books, everything, you're giving all that away just for the opportunity of there. And then after you've made that amount, then you can start making some money. But still, those books are costing you each time you give one out. It's not like free money. You paid for those. So that's hard. Artist Alley, when I was back in my day, it was like $150, $200. $400 and more bucks for an Artist Alley 6 or 8 foot table is crazy. But conventions aren't going to change. Prices are going high because demand is high, because it's a swap meet now, and all these crafters that make Yoda, koozies for their soda cups are now going to take those spots, and they will pay that $400. So that's an issue. There's also the opportunity cost of just being there and not doing your work, right? Not crafting, not working on your story. So that's an issue. Those are all the negatives. There are positives. The positives is, you learn a lot, you make money, you build a brand, which are the two most important things, is having some cash and building your audience. And you do learn. You learn from neighbors, you learn from others, either techniques, you learn about the business, you learn about the personalities, and you get gigs. Cannibal on Mars was a gig I got because I was next to a guy who liked my book enough and said, look, I love the way you color your book. I want you to color my book. He hired me. I got paid for this comic. That was really cool. Did it take away from my own book? Yes, but it was worth it because now I have this book and it's on my name. You know what I mean? You just get more done. So that was a good experience. I would not have gotten that if I wasn't there at the convention. So that kind of networking thing is important, and getting those opportunities. You also learn new pop culture, new media, new cool books, a new show to watch. You learn those kind of fun things, which is nice to talk to people that are into the same things you are. Some of that you could get by just going to the convention as a fan. But I would say that when you're there as a fan and you talk to people in their booths, it's a different dynamic. You're now a potential customer. You're being treated as such. They're hoping to get the money from you. And it's not like you both have the exhibitor badge and you're both side by side talking shop. Now you're a person coming in, you're taking their time and not giving them money for a book. You just want to mine them for information. Different dynamic. You won't get as much out of it, to be honest. Same for trying to track down editors or people to publish. Very hard to do at a con. A little easier for an exhibitor because, again, that badge, they see that badge like, okay, he's on the legit. If you're just some fan, you roll up there trying to talk to an assistant editor at Boom, you might get shined on. Trust me, been there. So that's something to think about. What convention should be is all original work. What it should be is no mashups, no stuff from other properties, your work that you're promoting, And you know what? If everyone did that, it would never happen. But if everyone did that, the audience, the people who come would grow. Their tastes would grow. The only reason why Disney, Star Wars, Marvel, all that is so popular now is because they are inundated with marketing. We are constantly marketed to. Billions of dollars are shoved down our throat to know about Marvel, DC, Disney, Star Wars, etc. That's why we love it, because we're told and shoved it to us constantly. If you don't think people are constantly thinking about how a new way to get Star Wars in our mind, then you're mistaken, because it is money and they send it to us. Now, if you went to a place where that was not allowed, except for those publishers who publish that, everybody else bring your own stuff, fresh stuff, you would see the audience would say, oh, this is different, or this is interesting. And, people buy that stuff because they know that. That's it. The only reason why they buy it is because they know it. You, as a creator, can create something unique and better if you're given the chance and you do it. So that's my little thought on that. Now, doing your passion, another thing we should talk about is, what if you just say, I'm not going to do cons. I'm just going to hunker down and work on my book. And that has been the approach I have been the last 2 years. It's like, you know what? It's pandemic. I'm just going to work on my book and get better. You will get better. I have gotten better by far over the last 6 months, a year, big time. I can look at sketches in my sketchbook 2 years ago, and it's way different now, right? Even 6 months ago. You just get better doing it. But the issue is you don't have the audience. So like Matt Hawkins was saying, yeah, you can come across and you can say, look, I've been working on this for 10 years and this is the best thing you're going to see. Boom. He will be amazed and he'll be like, oh my gosh, this is the best stuff. This is amazing. How are we going to sell it? Who's going to get this? They don't know you. But if you say, here, boom, this is what I have. And by the way, all these people know me because I've been doing this on the indie market and I've been doing Kickstarters and I got my webtoons and all that digital stuff. Then they go, oh, you mean he's bringing, it's almost, you know what this is like? It's a bringer show. If you guys know comedy clubs, it's a bringer show. That's what this scam is. You can't just roll up there and say, I'm a great writer and artist, hire me. They're like, oh, who are you going to bring? You got to bring your people. A bringer show is where you go to a comedy club, you're a comedian. I used to do stand-up, and you'd say, yeah, can I get 15 minutes? I want to spot at this show. Like, okay, you got to bring people. To let you perform, you need to bring your own people. Sometimes they say a bunch, or they give you a number or not. That's because you're bringing the money to them. These people are going to buy drinks, they're going to buy admission tickets. You're going to get, so that's what this is the same thing. Image Comics, all these publishers, they want you to bring already fans because they don't want to risk anything. They want you to bring the money. That's a bitch, dude. That is not freaking fun or easy, but that is the way it is. So what are you going to do to bring it? I have a Patreon. I would love for you to check it out. I think it's worth it. I've got a lot of stuff on there. I post all the time. Sketchbooks, comic books, everything. Photography now, my film work. I'm putting stuff on there. I'm trying to share that because I would love to bring that and say, here's these people that are like into this. That's the point, right? Because your amazing story won't sell if they don't know you. Okay. Let's talk lastly about full-time versus half-time. This is all based on your situation. if you are young, and I mean young by like 35 and younger, 30 and younger, if you're in your 20s, you don't have a family, children especially, then you have less to risk. Then you can just say, you know what? I'm going all balls out. I am going to do this full time. I'm going to need some capital investment to invest in the merchandise, invest in the t-shirts or whatever, the booth stuff, the setup, but I'm going to go all in. I'm going to do cons, or I'm going to just work on my craft and publish these. You can do that. And you will, because you're dedicating all your time to this, you will, in theory, get there quicker. But if you're a little older, or if you're young and have a family, or have responsibilities or dependents that require a certain income. Now, if you have a wife who's making the money, then you can pull this off, because I've seen guys do that too. But if you don't have a wife that pulls in the money and you got to do that, then you have to do what I'm doing now, which is part-time, which sucks. But I've done the full-time. And while I loved that time and I miss it and I think about it, it was also a stressful time because money wasn't coming in. You are living and dying by conventions, potentially, or Kickstarters, and you don't have power to really determine how you're going to do. You can talk to everybody, you can have the best stuff, you can bust your ass like I've done at some cons, and you might just walk out there with a couple $100, and that's all there is to it. People weren't there, people didn't have the money, people didn't like it, and that's it. You could do the same thing and make tons. You just never know. You all don't have power over other people's spending choices. You don't. Even if you bring it, right? So that can be very frustrating. And finding these little like freelance gigs, all that is frustrating. So because of that, you then do part-time. Well, part-time then sucks because now you're juggling management of time, managing family, your day job or night job, whatever we're calling it, and then the comics. And then, usually the comics is towards the end of the time, right? It's like, so then how do you get the creative juices going? How do you get the skills needed to do it? How do you get the motivation? A lot of self-motivation to draw, to work, to get it going. Shangri-La is 300 pages. Now you may be like, well, probably was 300 pages, but it's 300 pages all by myself, and it is a freaking slog. It's been years. I've been working on this for 4 or 5 years. Still not finished. That's a long time. And there's a lot of times you're just like, oh, I don't even know if this is working. I just don't even know if it's working. So there's those like thoughts that go through your mind as you're doing it. And it's slower. You're going to go a lot slower because it's about putting in those hours. And then once the project's done, you still then have to marketing it. Marketing it and getting it out there is a major part of the job. I used to work for Howard Chaykin. Chaykin does not do conventions, generally. They pay him, they set him up, he might go as a guest of honor. He does not put a table out and sell up his gimmicks. He does not do that. Now, why does he not do that? Because he's Howard Chaykin, he doesn't need to. When you have that name, when you have that cachet, you don't have to do cons. David Mack does not have to do cons, but he likes it. It's a revenue source for him, according to him, and he likes to sell his original artwork. He makes good money there, and he likes interacting with people. But until you have name recognition, you have to do the grind. Just verbalizing that right now makes me think about that. And it's like, I have to do this thing that I really don't want to go back to doing, the conventions. It is a stressor upon my wife, kids, myself. It's an investment. I got to pay for these tables, months ahead of time. So I got to carve out budget for that. Hopefully I recoup it. Sometimes I might not, or it'd be very close. The profit margin's very thin. So it's not something I'm like looking forward to. But then again, how am I going to go to Fantagraphics and say, hey man, you got to check out Shangri-La? What's the first thing they're going to say? This looks good, but how are they going to know you? How do they know what's this about? You know, like, where's your 10,000 people? So this idea of, well, my work will speak for itself. I can be in my hole and I will just be amazing, and then one day I'll just come out and show it to the world. I don't know if that's possible now. And that's a freaking bummer, because that means that I will have to go out there again. And I will have to do all that work. And what we really want to do is we just want to create and tell stories. We just want to get it out there and have people enjoy it. People love Pariah. People always, every time I'm at a con, people who've read it come, oh, dude, I really liked it. It was great. I mean, people really, it resonates with people. They're attracted to the art, the watercoloring. They dig it a lot. So I know it can hit people. But if I wouldn't have been to those cons previously, you know, that would never have happened. So I was saying that to do your passion, you may or may not have to do cons, but I'm really saying now, as I marinate, as I walk through this journey with you, I think you're going to have to do something to build that audience. Some sort of marketing hustle to do that. Matt Hawkins goes to 20 conventions a year. That's a lot. It's almost twice a month. He goes foreign. He's going to India. He's going to Europe. He's going all over the place, pimping these books that he's worked on, right? And it's part of the game. It's part of the hustle. I was talking to Jose Benitez. I was like, hey, it's great to see you. He's like, yeah, it's the game. I got bills to pay. This is the dream. You want to live the dream? This is part of the dream, okay? This is part of the dream, is the hustle as well as the creating. We can't just sit in our freaking cave and make a story and expect people to love it and buy it. Not until you're at that kind of echelon, which, let's be honest, you know, that doesn't happen to very few. So, yes, you can do your passion. Yes, you can be a comic book artist or writer or letterer or a painter or a photographer or a dancer or a fight choreographer. You can do that passion, but it's going to require you to learn it, master it, which takes years. I mean, no one's mastering it. It takes years. And then you're going to build that audience, build those people that know you. And that requires you to going to external events, going to things, or being online and finding those avenues for people to find you. That's what it takes to do it. And if you're in the game long enough, and if your stuff is good enough, I do have this deep feeling that you will make it. And hopefully, it's fun in the process. Because if you're not having fun doing it, go do something else. Just go watch some Star Trek or something, because it ain't, you know, if you're not enjoying it, then it's not your passion, right? There you go. That's my thoughts. Please email me, comment below, subscribe to the channel, go check out my Patreon. I would be honored if you go look at the Patreon. I've got a lot of it's public. There's a couple that are, you know, for patrons only, but it's only a freaking $1. Just do it 1 month and then bounce out, you know? Just read everything in a month. Boom, then get out. Let's check it out, because I am fully engaged in this. We'll say it that way. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate you guys. And let me know if you have any other questions, and we can chat more about comic book creative theory and living your dream, passion, that kind of stuff. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye.